Are you ready?
This is a discussion podcast about wrestling. This episode was recorded January 20th, 2018.
Hello everyone, I'm MVL and welcome to the Flip the Mic podcast with the Jonin Monkey and myself, MVL, baby!
Currently I'm a free agent, I have to go off and do movies, so just ignore my absence.
Well, I think what that really means is you don't want to be tied down to SmackDown Live.
Possibly.
And tonight our topics are Paige's injury, Clash of Champions recap, where we're going to talk about just how wrong I was on one particular matchup. I was spectacularly wrong, but we'll get into that. The WWE Universe obsession with CM Punk. And Royal Rumble / NXT Takeover predictions that are, as always, bound to be entirely wrong.
And late.
Yes, they will be late, of course, by the time you guys watch this. But, you know, it's funny to look back and see just how wrong we are with these things.
Oh,
Man,
God, yes.
I can't believe... cough, Ziggler. Anyway, we'll get into that later. We'll get into it. First, I'd like to do for my show-stopping promo a little bit from The Addiction, which is Christopher Daniels and Kazarian. When they were bad influence in TNA, they went to Ring of Honor and became The Addiction. A really neat promo they did to describe their new characters. It was all delivered by Christopher Daniels on a video package. Pretty cool, and I'm going to give my take on that right now. Ever since we were little kids, we watched professional wrestling. At first, it was just a little bit, a taste, drinking it in before we really knew what we were watching. But as we got older, we needed it more and more. And it didn't matter where we got it from. Mid-Atlantic, Mid-South, Memphis, World Class. At first, we might have been one of those places, but soon, it was all of those places. And then we started dabbling in the international stuff, a little bit of Lucha here, a little bit of Japan, the European stuff, but it didn't matter where we got it from, it just mattered that we got it. We were addicted to it. And then it came to a point where watching it wasn't enough. We had to do it. So we started doing it. At first, just a little bit at a time, but soon we were doing it all the time. 2 times, 3 times, 4 times a week, or even more. And then, just like we watched it, we started doing it everywhere. And then we came to Ring of Honor. And we realized that where we wanted it really bad, when we wanted it so bad we could taste it, Ring of Honor was the best place to get it. You see, that's the place where the pure stuff was. And the rush we got there from being in Ring of Honor was the best we'd ever felt. And each time was better than the last. And it's not just like that for us. It's like that for all of the fans out there as well. You see, they've got that hunger. They've got that need. And we see it in their eyes. We realize that we need to feed that need. We need to satiate that hunger. They need to see us against the best of the best in that Ring of Honor ring. And then we look into those eyes, that rush they feel when they watch us walk that aisle, when they watch us dance that dance, when they need us to win and win and win again. That's how I know that we're not the addicts anymore. They're the addicts. And us, we're the addiction. So, a nice little comparison there to wrestling being a drug that you're addicted to. I know I can't get by without my daily fix of wrestling. I don't know about yourself, but certainly it's a cheeky little comparison, and I like that promo quite a lot.
Indeed, yes. There is something where, at least in terms of WWE, that you keep coming back to it despite knowing it's probably not the best thing for you to be doing in your time.
Yeah, it gets to the point where I'm like, why am I watching this? Am I addicted? You know you're addicted if you stop doing it, though. So if I was to say, you know what, I'm not going to watch any WWE for a week, then I would know that I'm addicted. It's like if you try and quit drinking for a week.
But yeah, rather disturbing comparisons aside, I guess it's time for us to move on to the first topic. This is a rather tragic topic, mainly because, well, in the last episode, which... admittedly, there was a gap between it because, unlike the WWE, we had to rest over Christmas and New Year's. I mean, just on a complete unrelated side note, Wow. On both weeks, Monday Night Raw fell on Christmas Day and New Year's, and they just thought, shall we give our audience and our performers a well-deserved break? Nah, let's just power through. I'm sure no one's got anything else to do on Christmas.
Well, you know, they did pay for their travel, and they gave them a Christmas-themed dinner at the event, which is not really making up for it.
Not really.
My understanding is that the network wanted them to broadcast on those dates.
Huh.
Normally, I believe they would pre-tape their Christmas show. This time they didn't.
American network's very weird. But anyway, during the last episode, I mentioned the rise of the two new factions in the women's division. Riot Squad on SmackDown, which they have addressed at least one criticism of MVLs, which is they've now all got matching uniforms. I mean, it's unfortunate that SmackDown keeps repeating the same match again and again and again by throwing all the women in because they can't be bothered to have storylines.
Yeah, I'll say that SmackDown is particularly guilty for that problem where they just say, you know what, we'll do their entrances, we'll have a really short match, let's say 2-minute match. Like, sometimes it'll run over on the break, but it's really difficult to watch the SmackDown Live. Sometimes keeps going with the action through the break, but what you'll see is a really small amount of the action on the left-hand corner of your screen and a huge commercial on the other side. So it's impossible to follow it through the break. Sometimes the women's matches will go through the break. It's not really worth watching them because there won't be any commentary. The ads, audio will be on. It's very distracting. The matches are often very short on SmackDown. SmackDown is 1 hour less than Raw, but they definitely have time to do more than they do.
Yeah, it's just really bad handling. And meanwhile, on Raw, you have Absolution, which was led by Paige. And there has been an unfortunate development recently. As many of you who know, Paige was away for a long time due to a combination of injury and defying the wellness policy, but she has been cleared on both counts, and she returned. That was part of the whole big thing about Absolution, was the fact that Paige was back and she was ready to take names and take charge.
I'll quickly say as well, she was cleared to return by WWE, but not by her own doctor. She wasn't cleared by the doctor did the operation on the neck, said you should never come back to wrestling. WWE cleared her, which is like the opposite to what happened with Daniel Bryan, where his doctors have cleared him, but WWE doesn't want him to come back. I know it's a different injury entirely. Her injury is more similar to Edge's, because it's a neck injury. But yeah, continue.
Unfortunately, that injury is starting to come back to haunt them. See, during a house show, this didn't happen on TV, during a house show, there was a spot where, as has been the case for pretty much every single week ever since we got into New Year's, Absolution were having a tag team match against Sasha Banks and Bayley, and usually they throw in a third member. It keeps swapping in and out, but yeah.
I believe it was Mickie James. It was a 6-man tag, yeah.
Yeah, they've been playing variations on that exact same match for the past few weeks. Yeah, during one of the house shows, they decided to have a radical change and made it a 6-woman tag match. There was a spot where Paige was in a kind of traditional heel-face dynamic. She had beaten Sasha Banks to the point where she was very weak and she was having to edge into the corner of the ring with Paige walking menacingly towards her. Then she briefly turns around. Whether it's meant to be that she's distracted by the crowd, taunting the other team, yelling at the referee, but whatever. The point is, she turns her back to Sasha, and Sasha, in what's meant to be a heroic comeback moment, grabs the top ropes and uses them to pull herself up and give Paige a double kick to the back.
Yeah, it's like a donkey kick, if anything.
Yeah. And both of them flop to the ground, and they do that whole thing where Sasha crawls over to Bayley to tag her in, and at first it looks like what usually happens in wrestling, where everyone over-exaggerates like how much effort it takes to crawl. Everyone's doing it very slowly. Sasha very slowly makes it to Bayley and tags in. At first it looks like Paige is still doing it, but then the referee can see that it's beyond that. She's actively trying to get up but can't. She continues to flop around, and after several failed attempts, the referee starts making the signs to call the paramedics, and the match is quickly finished. Yeah,
so he puts up the X sign. Paige couldn't use her arms at that point due to the whiplash and the aggravated neck injury. Looks like, and I know you're probably going to go on to this, she's not cleared to wrestle in WWE again.
Yeah, I mean, there is yet to be any official word of it. Like, at the moment, at the time of recording, the only official confirmation we've had is a WWE Fallout video where Paige just said, oh yeah, it looks like I'll be missing out on the Royal Rumble. Basically, every other source apart from WWE has officially stated that she can not wrestle again because of this.
Yeah, WWE is being suspiciously quiet about it. I don't know why. If anything, they should begin transitioning her into another role if they intend to do so. Perhaps an on-screen personality, maybe commissioner of the women's division. I'm just throwing that out there. That's a terrible idea because they did it in TNA. But maybe throw her onto commentary in NXT. Do something with her, because I think having her as a manager is probably not the best use of her talents, being as she won't be on screen that much. If you throw her into commentary, she'll have a lot more time to develop that. I'm not saying they necessarily do. I know that Paige definitely wants to come back and wrestle, but it doesn't look like she'll be able to do so again.
This has inevitably started the internet conspiracy machine, and in fact, there was one YouTube comment on one of these news videos which I found absolutely hilarious, just because it said, and I swear this to you, this is a 100% true quote, "Sasha Banks did it on purpose. I'm not asking you to trust me. It's true. I know people who work in the company, and they confirmed this. That's why she was pulled from the Mixed Match Challenge." Which is funny, because technically Sasha hasn't been pulled from the Mixed Match Challenge, and again, it's one of those ridiculous conspiracy theories, like, I know people. I'm not going to specify who, but I know people, trust me.
Okay, what they might have been suggesting, I think Paige was initially going to be in the Mixed Match Tag Challenge, but they took her out of it. I know that Sasha Banks has a lot of heat with everybody, and that's because she's very competitive. She has heat with Paige because Paige got that spot. You know, she's got a big spot with Absolution. You know, if you're one of the other wrestlers, you're looking at that and thinking, she's been off TV for a year. Why is she getting this spot? I know that Sasha Banks has heat with basically everybody. Like, why did Charlotte have that title at that point? I should have that title. That's a competitive mindset. If you look at the kick is really stiff. It's definitely a lot of force put into that. I mean, you can say she was selling it, but it's really tough. The main thing is that the whole spot is ridiculous.
Yeah.
The fact that Paige has a neck injury, she's taking a hit from unaware from behind.
Yeah, Brian Alvarez even pointed out when him and Dave Meltzer talked about it, like, if you know someone has a neck injury, you shouldn't be doing spots like that.
Yeah, they also brought up something about female gymnasts getting hairline fractures on their bones the more they work, because they work from a young age. Paige started wrestling when she was 13, and she's been wrestling a really long time. You know, she's unfortunately will have to retire mid-20s at 25, which is really unfortunate. But she has been wrestling a really long time. They were saying that, you know, perhaps, and I don't agree with this, I'll say that the female form, you know, smaller bones, is not quite as built to withstand this kind of punishment as the men are. You know, the big guys, the big men that take the big spots, they stay, you know, healthy for longer. That is true. You've got your Roman Reigns and your John Cena's who can come back from, you know, ridiculous injuries because they're all muscle and, you know, they're really big boned. I don't necessarily believe, you know, that women can't wrestle for a long time. You've got Mickie James, you've got Alicia Fox, you've got Asuka. You know, you've got people in the women's division that have been wrestling for a long time. Maybe Paige shouldn't have been wrestling at such a young age. Who's to say? You can't really tell someone what to do and what not to do. I definitely don't think that a woman can only spend X amount of time in the wrestling industry before she's at risk from injury. Everyone's at risk from injury all the time. Ask anyone that wrestles. They'll say, my neck hurts, my back hurts, you know.
Yeah, it's one of those things that happens. I mean, even from my experience from a Dark Age reenactment group, which is kind of the same thing where you're having to, like, pull your blows a lot and make it look good for the crowds, you kind of take it as part of the course that it's unfortunate and you try and play it safe whenever you can, but the blunt truth is accidents are going to happen, even if you're incredibly careful. That's why I can definitely believe Sasha Banks having some heat with Paige, because, like you said, she has a really competitive personality, and she seems to be kind of one of those prickly people. I mean, she managed to get some ire from the fans because she was talking about how she hated it when fans came up to her at an airport at 2 o'clock in the morning to sign some stuff and that kind of thing. But I really don't think she would have taken it to the step where she deliberately injures another wrestler, you know?
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's been very out in the open that she's got a lot of heat with Alexa Bliss, but she still wrestles a match with Alexa Bliss. You're not gonna just not work with someone that you don't like, and then you wouldn't have any opportunities. No, I don't believe there's anything malicious behind it. The kick was really stiff. It was way stiffer than it should have been. And the fact that she was unaware that it was coming was ridiculous. Who does that? Having said that, the WWE, especially in the women's division, have been going quite safe on how they do the matches. I talk about how the matches are in NXT when you have wrestlers like Carmella doing 2 outside dives in a match, and yet you haven't seen any of that sort of thing in the WWE.
Yeah, it's kind of the same with Asuka, in that she used to have a finisher, the Asuka lock, and now it's been turned into a standard armbar.
Yeah, I do believe they've changed that finisher so that the Queen of Spades can use it.
Right.
It looks like more of an MMA move, so that might be the case. It also looks similar to Joe's lock as well, the Coquina Clutch. So they might have changed it for that reason. The armbar is a bit of a vanilla move, but, it's still a very convincing looking finisher.
Yeah. Also, speaking of which, for anyone who's wondering why I'm willing to give Sasha Banks a benefit of the doubt but not say Sexy Star, yeah, Sexy Star, that was something that you could actively tell from the footage. That was someone going out of their way to do that when the other wrestler is very clearly going, dude, what the hell?
You know what's so funny about that is Sexy Star went after the one person that wasn't shooting on her.
I know, right? Compare that to a spot where afterwards both wrestlers just carried on with the spot, or at least tried to in Paige's case, but couldn't carry on. That's the reason why I'm giving Sasha the benefit of the doubt on this. Also, the fact that Sexy Star was absolutely terrible, and apologies, but that's not what we're talking about right now.
In no world do I think that Sasha Banks deliberately tried to injure Paige. There are a lot of people that want the top spots, but I don't think anyone is going to do that sort of thing. It was a really bad choice of spot. To be brutally honest, this was going to happen to Paige at some point anyway. She's been wrestling a really long time. She had a neck injury that she shouldn't have been wrestling with. And I would say people like Sheamus need to take notice right here, because Sheamus is wrestling injured and he shouldn't be.
Yeah, I mean, it could be an unfortunate accident, but it may be one of those things, like, I know everyone decries WWE for taking the safe option, but if you're gonna continuously work them for this long hours, like, it didn't happen on a live show, it happened in a house show, for God's sake,
Yeah, I mean, they have a big enough roster not to do this. We've talked about how they wrestle like 5-6 days out of a 7-day week. It's ridiculous. Can't push these guys. You've got people, veterans, like AJ Styles, who are doing this much wrestling at their age. I know Samoa Joe was about to run an angle with John Cena, but he had an injury with his ankle on that show. And this is all because they're wrestling too much. Especially the wrestlers that have been doing this for such a long time. They really should have an easier schedule. I'm not saying that everybody should have an easier schedule. I'm not saying anyone should have preferential treatment, but I'm saying that people that have been wrestling for longer are at higher risk of injury.
Also, when you've got several mid-carders, you probably could use more screen time. Hell, you've got half of the women's division who could use more screen time, Might be better to save them for the house shows rather than, like you say, work them into the ground and risking more and more injuries like this, because it's not just those guys. Like, Dean Ambrose has also been out for a considerably long time as well.
Yeah, we talked about it. Ambrose had wrestled more matches last year than anybody else. It was ridiculous, the number of matches he'd wrestled. And surprise, surprise, his body broke. That was going to happen.
Yeah, so yeah, it's one of those things where I think, more than anything, WWE needs to actually sit down and start thinking about the work schedule for these wrestlers, especially if they're recovering from injury the way Paige was. As for what Paige would do, I mean, I would like her to maybe be a commentary or a commissioner, but I have a sneaking suspicion the way... at least they're trying to play it off right now. I think they want to keep the idea of absolution going, or at least the brand of the dominant force. So I have a suspicion that she's probably going to be like a Paul Heyman manager type figure where she's bigging them up.
Yeah, I think the problem is they've put a lot of stock into this Paige movie that they want to do. And they really want to get some return from that. So they're probably staying clear of saying that Paige can't wrestle until after this movie comes out. If anything, I would reshoot the ending of Paige documentary to include the retirement. That gives you a good angle for the end of it.
Yeah.
And I think since Corey Graves did so well transitioning into commentary, and I do think we could really do with a woman commentator to put some perspective onto commentary. It would be nice if someone like Paige could come in and take that role. I know Paige is very good at interacting socially, so it doesn't seem like much of a stretch for me.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it worked with Lita, and I know Paige is a better talker than Lita, so...
And I think I said previously, it might have just been in conversation off of a podcast, but I thought before this happened that if Paige needed to take any time out, someone could come in and take over the group and then claim to be responsible for the women's revolution.
Oh,
and I think that... I know it wouldn't be the best of taste, but they've done this sort of thing before. If Sasha Banks was to come out in storyline and say that she did deliberately do this, and that now Absolution is her stable, because Absolution was trying to get Sasha Banks into their stable previously.
That is true, although I think it would be an incredibly dangerous risk for Sasha to come out and claim responsibility for the injury, because you know how some people take that.
If you do that as a work, then people will understand it as a work. I don't think anyone at this point believes anything that happens on screen is real.
You can hope, but anyway.
Yeah. Oh my god, The Undertaker killed him! He's killed him! He's buried him alive! Well, that's what happens when you have an undead mortician from Death Valley wrestling.
Indeed, yes. I guess it's either that or they're gonna have one of the surprise entrants in the Women's Royal Rumble taking over. And actually, speaking of how hilarious it was going back, I was speculating of, I wonder if these two new women's factions are leading up to a Women's Royal Rumble. And then literally the day after recording, it's announced thanks to Stephanie McMahon.
Yeah, very glad to see that. We're gonna have 2 Royal Rumbles. Which is great, because even if one of the Royal Rumbles is ruined by crowd chanting, which it has been previously, we've still got another Royal Rumble to enjoy, so that's great.
Indeed, yes.
I'm just really worried that the Women's Royal Rumble would be like 15 minutes long. Having said that, it couldn't possibly be, because it's supposed to be 30 to 60 seconds between each competitor. So we should get some time regardless, even if much of the time is people just hugging each other by the ropes.
I guess we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, as for Paige, I'm really unfortunate that her career had to end this way, but we might as well use the opportunity to reflect on. You need to take better care of your wrestlers, guys. You really do.
Yeah, and I think, especially with Michael Cole being gone with kayfabe injury, there's a space in the commentary booth, because I don't know if you saw last Raw, but Michael Cole got taken out, and immediately Tom Phillips appeared backstage and took the spot, as if he was waiting there like some sort of commentary vulture. He's gone, finally, my chance.
Here's your cash, Braun.
Pretty much.
Oh dear. But yeah, speaking of predictions we had that went incredibly wrong, MVL, your topic.
Yes, so, Clash of Champions. What a crazy pay-per-view that was. We're going to go over the results here and explain how wrong we were, or in some cases, like with the first match, I'm going to talk about how right we were. So the first match that came up was Mojo Rawley versus Zack Ryder. We all knew Mojo was going to run through Zack. Why wouldn't he? Interestingly enough, Mojo got quite far in the US title tournament, which we will touch on in just a little bit when we go on to the next match and why there is a US title tournament. As we move on to our next match, Dolph Ziggler versus Baron Corbin versus Bobby Roode, a triple threat for the WWE United States Championship. And I made the prediction that Dolph Ziggler's role in this match was just to lose, because he wasn't really anywhere towards being pushed. You know, Baron Corbin's a big guy they're trying to push. Bobby Roode is a new babyface they want to push. Dolph Ziggler is in there for no reason other than to lose. Well, guess who won the match with this colossal move where Bobby Roode was setting up Baron Corbin for the glorious DDT. Dolph Ziggler comes in with a zigzag, or it might have been the other way around. It could have been the end of days and then the zigzag. It doesn't matter. Either way, Dolph Ziggler takes the win for the match and becomes a new United States champion. Whoa.
Yeah, I mean, in fairness, I think everyone made that prediction. Like, when Dolph Ziggler was announced, everyone thought, oh god, why are you doing this? Well, we know why you're doing this, but still, you couldn't think of any other way to take the title off Baron, and it turned out to be a massive swerve. But then things got interesting. Is that Dolph Ziggler came into the ring with his United States Championship and went, I've been saying, I'm the best wrestler here. Why are you all surprised?
Yeah, and he had a great video package showing his former WWE Championship run, his former Intercontinental Championship run. That was great. He really set it up great. And then he did this really interesting thing where he just left the US title in the ring and walked away.
Yeah, now he's apparently, from what I can gather, he's not actually left the company. It's just he's taking a long break as part of the storyline.
Yeah, his words were, "You don't deserve me," and he dropped the title. I didn't say he left the title, which will make it very interesting when he does come back. What's great about this is he has taken that extended time off to really sell it. So when he does come back, it'll be a massive shock. And this isn't the weirdest thing that's happened to a title, because Impact Wrestling, Josh Matthews was given the Grand Championship, which was that crazy title that was defended in rounds like UFC that they never should have had in the first place. They gave it to Josh Matthews, the commentator, and then dissolved the title. So that whole thing was stupid.
Wow.
I'm glad to see that gone.
But yeah, that was quite a shock. And then Daniel Bryan set up the United States Championship tournament in order to decide who should get their hands on it, which confused Shane McMahon as part of their whole ongoing conflict storyline, because he said, hey, why didn't you give it to Baron Corbin? After all, he had the #1 contendership. And Daniel Bryan said, well, I wanted to give the other wrestlers an opportunity, and we are the land of opportunities after all. So yeah, whilst the whole Dolph Ziggler thing was a bit of a confusing swerve, I did like the United States tournament for a while, and in fact, I actually found Jinder Mahal's push for it actually quite entertaining, and I think I've got to the stage where I think I can actually stomach and actually even kind of like Jinder Mahal when he's not in the main title event. I think when he's going for stuff like the United States champion, he's definitely a lot more tolerable in my eyes.
Yeah, it was good to see them give people like Aiden English and Xavier Woods some single match time as well. Underrated stars that really could do with the shine. They got a little bit of a rub in that tournament as well, which was nice to see.
The only reason I still find the whole swerve a little bit confusing was that ultimately Bobby Roode got his hands on the US title. And don't get me wrong, I like Bobby Roode, and I was really glad that he is now the United States champion. I just find it a bit odd that if you're going to give him the belt anyway, why have Dolph Ziggler win it and then leave?
Yeah, I mean, that helps set up for Dolph Ziggler's angle whenever that happens, where he'll probably come back and he'll probably call himself the true United States champion or something like that. Daniel Bryan moved the match forward for the US title to that episode of SmackDown.
Yeah, that was weird.
And Daniel Bryan has been butting heads with Shane McMahon for quite some time. I might have spoken about this before, that the belief is that the WWE are trying to make Daniel Bryan heel very slowly because they want to damage his appeal when he leaves the company. Because he really wants to wrestle, despite his injuries, and it doesn't look like it's going to happen, or if it does happen, it's quite a way off, so when his contract is up, he might leave. So they're doing really weird stuff with Daniel Bryan. I think it's going to be very difficult to take away his appeal to the audience.
The only other thing I will say, also in regards to this match, like, what the hell happened to Baron Corbin's push? Like, he didn't even get very far in the United States tournament. I think, who was it that took him out in the end?
I don't remember, but I can look it up.
But yeah, the fact that, well, that's actually the really shocking thing. We couldn't remember who the hell took out Baron Corbin in the first round of the United States tournament. Like, his push wasn't even taken seriously. And it's just like that. He's gone from United States champion to dude who couldn't even get to the final round.
Okay, so Bobby Roode had a match with Baron Corbin for the first round. So Baron Corbin was taken out round 1. Which was really crazy because, like you say, Baron Corbin was a very good prospect at one point. Zack Ryder fought Mojo Rawley. Of course, Mojo went through. He then lost to Bobby Roode, which you can expect because there's not a lot going for Mojo. He has had this persona change where he's turned evil, but you're not really seeing much from him. I kind of want to see him get properly evil or just have some sort of personality. I think they've done a bit of a lazy transition into him being just kind of this mean guy, but he's still coming out with this hype persona, which doesn't quite make sense. Jinder Mahal beat Ty Dillinger. Wasn't really surprised about that because Ty Dillinger's been dropping down the card forever, and you barely see him on SmackDown Live. Xavier Woods beat Aiden English. That was pretty expected. Rusev Day isn't really going anywhere despite the fan popularity. And then Jinder beat Xavier, and Bobby Roode beat Jinder for the final of the US title tournament that happened on SmackDown Live.
So yeah, it was all pretty surprising either way, and I definitely enjoyed the tournament anymore, but it just made me raise my eyebrows. Like, I don't know what the hell they're going to do with Baron Corbin at this point, because it just seems that he's gone from being the United States champion to, whoa, you're flying down the cards faster than Ty Dillinger at this point.
Yeah, and I'm just looking, the US title is not featured on the Royal Rumble.
Oh, wow,
So
you're right.
There's another thing. Obviously, they didn't have time to put it on the card, not enough space on the card for it, so that's why they pushed that forward.
Yeah, I mean, unless after recording they decide to make an emergency announcement of, oh, by the way, the United States champion will now be Baron Corbin versus Bobby Roode again.
Wouldn't be the first time a big announcement happened immediately after we finished recording.
Yeah.
Royal Rumble! Okay. The next match was the Usos, Jay and Jimmy Uso, versus The New Day, which was Big E and Kofi Kingston, with Xavier Woods ringside, versus Chad Gable and Shelton Benjamin, American Alpha 2.0, as they should be called, but aren't, and Rusev and Aiden English, aka Rusev Day.
I thought they had basically made that. I mean, I know in the promos after this match, they pretty much called them American Alpha 2.0.
I think they really should, because it makes sense, and it makes them sound like an upgrade from American Alpha. So that's kind of cool. Or they could just call them Alpha 2.0, which sounds kind of cool as well.
Yeah.
Or like the Alphas. Actually, I don't know if the Alphas has already been a thing. What they can't call them is American Males. Because that would be the American Males, which is as bad as my singing, that team is. So, the Usos won this. That was pretty cool. I don't remember what my prediction was, but I imagine the New Day were looking like favourites. It's a shame because Rusev and Aiden English were really big on the crowd side. Rusev on SmackDown Live got like a double accolade on, which is really cool. That team is really shaping up really well.
Yeah.
I'd like to see a little more with those guys.
Yeah, I mean, I think we predicted that it was most likely that the Usos would hold on to it, but if anyone was going to take it, it would probably be New Day. It's kind of interesting, the development afterwards, that they've now pushed American Alpha 2.0 into the number one contendership. As for Rusev Day, I kind of agree with you. Like, they are a really enjoyable team and the crowd is on their side, but it seems to be like a completely unplanned success. Like, the WWE had no plans for them and they don't know how to respond to the fact that they are so popular that the crowd is cheering and continuously chanting Rusev Day even during the rest of the promo.
You often see this sort of thing, like with Damien Sandow. They almost get punished for being successful by themselves, to the point where the writers are to the mentality where we didn't allow them to get over, they can't get over. But yeah, they really should be pushing Rusev and Aiden English. There should be a bunch of t-shirts out, because they did really well. They were best sellers a little while ago on their t-shirt, the Rusev Day shirt. They should be capitalizing on this now while it's hot, because who knows how long it's going to last.
Admittedly, there are some things that the fans never get tired of, but yeah, it can be
Are
very
there
quick.
things the crowd never get tired of? Let me think. Yes! 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 And then someone in the background, CM Punk! CM
Oh,
Punk!
God damn it.
But we'll get to that later.
Oh, God, yes.
The next match was a lumberjack match, because that way you can get all of the women wrestlers out there. Charlotte Flair defeats Natalya. I think we pretty much all saw this coming. It's a shame. Natalya is a very skilled wrestler who, in the Mixed Match Challenge, is going to be with Shinsuke Nakamura, which is really cool. 'Cause you've got two very proficient wrestlers together there. That's really awesome. And Charlotte Flair with Bobby Roode. Team Robes.
I will quickly mention that at the time of recording, it started, and the first match was indeed Shinsuke Nakamura of Talia and Sasha Banks with Finn Balor. And unfortunately, it went the way you predict, where every time one of the women tags in one of the men, they instantly swap round, even when it makes no sense. Like, it was even implemented in one incredibly weird spot, where Finn Balor and Shinsuke Nakamura are fighting in the middle of the ring. Sasha, who is on the ropes, then tags Finn Balor, and suddenly the commentators go, Sasha's tagged in, that means Natalya's the legal opponent, even though Natalya is outside of the ring. And that gave Sasha Banks the opportunity to leap off the ropes and land onto her, which made me think, how does that work in any logical sense?
Yeah, it's that really weird intergender tag rules they have in WWE. So as soon as you tag the person of the other gender, the corresponding gender is legal. That's a really weird way for me to say it. If the man tags a woman, the other woman is legal. If the woman tags a man, the other man is legal. It's only ever man on man, woman on woman.
Yeah, that's one of the more depressing things about it, but otherwise it's looking good so far.
Yeah, it's a shame they didn't need to implement that, because it's on Facebook Watch and it's on WWE Network. It doesn't hit the regular television, which is where those restrictions might come in.
Yeah.
And I've said before, I don't think anybody sees intergender violence happening on sports entertainment and thinks, wow, you know, I should go out and beat my wife. You know, like, it's crazy. It's crazy.
And funny enough that they even broke those rules, because the only time there was an intergender attack was when Sasha Banks rammed into Shinsuke Nakamura to stop him getting the pin on Finn Balor, which yeah, it's a tag team. Of course you're going to do that.
Yeah, I should say that maybe they're scared about little boys hitting little girls, but kids hit each other all the time, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
It's more because of, like, the television network they're on doesn't allow that sort of thing. But it's sports entertainment.
Yeah.
I've complained about that a lot previously, and I really credit shows that don't feature those restrictions like Lucha Underground.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of Lucha Underground, by the way, Ricochet finally signed with WWE Developmental.
Oh, yes.
He'll be on NXT at some point.
Mm-hmm. Looking forward to that. But yeah, we've kind of shown how little we've cared about the women's match by the fact that we've talked about everything but that match.
Yeah. The next match was the Bludgeon Brothers versus Breezango, the Fashion Police.
I can't believe how wrong we were about that prediction.
Yeah,
no,
man,
we were right.
wow.
We were right.
Fandango and Tyler Breeze really showed us how to get pinned on the mat. The Bludgeon Brothers, of course, they ran through Breezango. Leads to another match between either Breezango or the Ascension. It doesn't really matter because those guys are nowhere on the card right now. I will say that War Machine also signed with WWE, and they have a similar look to the Ascension, so it'll be really funny watching this other team come in with that kind of demolition look and getting pushed to the moon whilst one of their own homegrown teams is there, in the background. The Bludgeon Brothers will continue to run through everyone they come up against until they fight a legitimate team. So it doesn't tell us anything with them fighting the lower card. And I'll also say that the Fashion Files have been moved to WWE.com. It's kind of a letdown not seeing that on the WWE programs, but, you can still watch it if you want. I haven't watched them recently because there's so much WWE to watch. I would have preferred if it was still on SmackDown Live, but I imagine they've cut the budget at some point. It seems like they're determined to bury Breezango, despite the fact that they're very popular, despite the fact how little they're in the ring.
Yeah, it's one of those weird things. I mean, if I was a booker on WWE and I wanted to have like the Bludgeon Brothers eventually come up to a climax, I would say I would pit them against Rusev Day as the tag team is unofficially known, just because, well, that would be a good underdog story for someone like Rusev, but they're probably not going to do that.
Yeah, let's not forget that Rusev was undefeated for like a year when he first came in. It was only when John Cena managed to bury him down that he's now in a tag team with Aiden English, losing to everybody. But, there was a long path to that point, and there's a fair bit of backstage politics, especially when Lana and himself got engaged. They didn't like that because it destroyed one of their storylines at the time with Summer Rae. But whatever, he'll make the most of it. Rusev is still really over because of his character and his backstage personality, especially with his videos that he puts on social media. So I think Rusev will get back up there at some point.
Indeed.
The next match is Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn versus Randy Orton and Shinsuke Nakamura. This is a tag team match with Shane McMahon and Daniel Bryan as special guest referees at the same time. Not one outside the ring and one inside the ring, both referees in the ring, which was really awkward, but we'll talk about that. If Owens and Sami Zayn lose, they will be fired from WWE. Well, the easy thing to predict here is they're obviously not going to fire Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn or remove them from television for an extended period of time because they're both really good workers. They kind of need them unless they wanted to move them over to Raw. So I think we all knew how this match was going to end. It's just how it ended was the interesting thing.
And in the end, it's actually kind of funny. The more interesting highlights of the match were basically what was going on with the referees rather than the actual performers. As predicted, Shane McMahon and Daniel Bryan basically ended up fighting with each other, disagreeing about who was supposed to be counting who, and eventually they kind of went to a you go your side, I'll go my side agreement.
Yeah, aside from literally butting heads at one point due to one of them being pushed into the other by Kevin Owens, they separated the ring in the middle, which was ridiculous. You'd think they would work the pins, one guy on one side and one guy on the other, so they could see when the shoulders were down. It came to be because of a miscue that a pin wasn't taken, and at that point, Kevin Owens was able to roll up Randy Orton. I think it was Randy Orton he rolled up.
Well, I think, no, what happened was Kevin Owens started pinning Randy Orton at one point, so Shane McMahon started doing 1, 2, and then wouldn't do the third one, which got Daniel Bryan ruffled, and then eventually, I forget what the exact details of what happened. Basically, Shane was knocked out, and like you said, Kevin Owens rolled up Randy Orton, and then Daniel Bryan did a fast count where he just went 1, 2, 3, and that was instantly done.
Yeah, so as I remember it, the thing that really stirred the pot is when Sami Zayn rolled up Randy Orton, Shane McMahon didn't count to 3. He just didn't. At that point, it was kind of the jig was up. You knew that Shane McMahon wasn't going to be a fair referee. At which point, another pin attempt was made where like you say, Daniel Bryan did the fast count, deliberately fast count, to get the match over. And Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens won the match due to hijinks.
As they have been in all of their other matches, in fairness. It was another interesting development in what has already been a really... It's kind of a really compelling storyline, because part of me is wondering if it's gone on a little bit too long now. But I think part of the reason why it's been so intriguing is that you never know where it's going to go, because like they continuously almost fight and then just manage to begrudgingly make up. Like, Shane McMahon on the next SmackDown came in and asked Daniel Bryan, what the hell? And Daniel Bryan went with the argument of, I did it to protect you from yourself because you're becoming a lot like your father Vince. So he was seeing the daddy issues button and slamming it continuously.
That was a really interesting thing, that his defense was, I'm protecting you from yourself. They're really doing the kind of authority versus Daniel Bryan thing again. I'll just come in with, I've got the exacts of what happened on the match. So in the climax, Zayn attempted a pin, which was a roll-up on Randy Orton, but Shane intentionally stopped at the count of 2. Bryan and Shane then argued, during which Bryan shoved Shane. Orton attempted to RKO Sami Zayn, who avoided it and pinned Orton with a roll-up. Bryan made the fast count to give Owens and Sami Zayn the win, thus keeping their jobs. Although that's from Wikipedia, so...
Yeah, citation needed and all that. But it's kind of hard to tell where they're leading. I mean, I've seen many people claim that they're trying to make Daniel Bryan heel, especially recently, where he's made some bizarre match ideas, but it's kind of hard to see it that way because Shane McMahon has been doing equally, if not more, heelish things.
Yeah, you see, one of the problems is that Randy Orton has always kind of been a hired goon for the Authority, and they might pigeonhole Shinsuke Nakamura in that same position if they continue to team them up against the kind of independent wrestlers. I mean, it was really funny when they had that big argument on commentary about, does the independent side really exist? Because according to Byron Saxon, it doesn't matter outside of WWE, and that's WWE's opinion. They've pretty much said that from time to time, that they don't care what happens outside. And Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, and Daniel Bryan have all been independent wrestlers, had a lot of success outside of WWE. The idea that they might be setting up a match at SummerSlam down the line between Shane McMahon and Daniel Bryan, but we don't know whether that's going to happen or not.
Was that Sami Zayn in the independent scene, though? Because, I mean, I know he has the same moveset as a generic luchador, but...
Yeah, I mean, if you ask me, he's copied everything he's got from El Generico, but that's neither here nor there, is it? Because I haven't even seen El Generico for quite some time. Maybe Sami Zayn killed him.
Well, you know, sometimes wrestlers just can't hack it in the WWE.
Yeah. Welcome to the big time! And talking about the big time, the main event, AJ Styles versus Jinder Mahal with the Singh brothers for the WWE Championship. AJ Styles won pretty decisively, even with the help from the Singh brothers. Pretty much as you expected, AJ Styles is money going forward, as long as he can keep wrestling at that high caliber despite his age. I mean, he's not old, you know, he's not Undertaker old, but he's getting there. He's been in the wrestling business for a long time, and as we spoke about earlier, those injuries will start to creep up on you. I know AJ's got a bag back. I know every wrestler is dealing with injuries, so how long AJ Styles will be at the top of his game in WWE is debatable, but right now, he is, as the tagline says, phenomenal.
And, yeah, this was kind of where Jinder's run needed to end, because they weren't making the big splash in India they wanted, and it was kind of clear that the fans were losing patience with him. So, like I said, he's doing a lot better in the mid-card scene now rather than in the main event. So yeah, I'm kind of glad that this was the end point, I guess.
Yeah, I want to see Jinder Mahal make it back up there. It could be because things in India with the expansion of WWE to that territory didn't work out. Unfortunately, there is probably a lot of backstage politics going on there, but we shall see. He's still gotten over a lot from where he was. He's not a jobber anymore, you know.
Yeah, definitely. I'm not saying he should go back to being a jobber, but I think maybe being in the mid-card a bit to sort of develop his moveset a bit more. So
I don't think anyone's doing a Booker T to James Ellsworth. The kid should go back to the Indies.
Yeah, I think it would be good for him to go in the mid-card, like develop his moveset a bit, and then get back up there. That would give him a bit more credit in the main event scene, I guess.
Yeah, a lot of champions need to have that mid-range title win. They've even deliberately and kind of artificially gone back and done that with Roman Reigns to try and give him a bit more credibility in the upper card, to say, like Kurt Angle took every title along his way as he fastly moved up the chain. you want to see that kind of lineage before someone goes right into the main scene. That was one of the things they thought that Roman Reigns hadn't done, which made the crowd angry about him. Now they know they're angry with Roman Reigns. It's really hard to get that away from him.
I have enjoyed Roman Reigns' period as the Intercontinental Champion so far. Like, I do like his very simplistic, you know what, I'm a fighting champion. If anyone wants it, they can take it. I prefer that mentality to him rather than try to make him the big, honourable superhero and the like.
Yeah, I do get kind of mad, though, that they have him being a bit bigger than the league he's in. Normally, when he's fighting a match, he will take maybe 1 in 3 moves at best. You don't see anyone else really block punches to the extent that Roman Reigns blocks every other blow that comes to him. And you never see that from anyone else. They want him to look unstoppable, Superman-esque.
Yeah.
And when he's in the Intercontinental title league, the kind of mid-league, they really do make the other guys look like they can't do anything to him. They had a 2-on-1 handicap match with a Miztourage, and I was surprised they even let Bo Dallas and Curtis Axel do anything against him. Like, the match actually went a bit of a distance, which I was surprised, because I would have thought they just wouldn't allow that to happen. It would be almost damaging for his reputation to even suggest, even on a handicap match, that anyone could beat Roman Reigns down in the ring.
Yeah.
And let's not forget that one of his first losses was a 13-on-3 handicap match. That's what it took to beat him initially.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's part of the reason why I like it, though, is that they have, I mean, it's still not perfect, but they've pulled back on it initially. I mean, one of the first challenges was Elias, for God's sake, and that was a match that went on for much longer than his matches normally last.
Well, Elias is doing pretty well right now, especially as I believe he's moving into challenge Cena now that Samoa Joe's injured.
Oh, nice.
So Elias should be getting a big push coming up soon.
But yeah, getting back to AJ and Jinder Mahal, yeah, I consider that this was probably the best way to end it. I mean, it's predictable, yes, but like you said, AJ Styles is doing really well as a big babyface champion, and Jinder's time was pretty much up. I think he just needs to go down a bit and work his way back up, I think.
Yeah, we'll see him get there again, I have no doubt.
Yeah, I mean, if nothing else, he makes a really good forward heel as long as they just don't do the racist jokes again.
Yeah, that was painful to watch. But I think as they move up Shinsuke Nakamura, you'll want a good heel to go up against him. And Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, I don't know where they're going to be in the picture moving forward, but there's always space for, like you say, a good heel like Jinder Mahal.
As yeah, I believe that was all the matches on Clash of Champions. As for where AJ Styles goes from here, well, we'll talk about that in the Rumble because things have gotten weird since then.
Things are always getting weird on live television. But yeah, your topic comes up here, so you go for it.
Okay then. This is a fairly quick one because it was something I was always going to say for a rainy day because it's something that's always baffled me about the WWE universe, or at least the ones that come to the live shows at any rate. And it's come up again recently in relevance because of, well, 2 events. First off, during the New Year's episode, Elias was trying to play a song, but was interrupted by none other than John Cena. And he started off his promo basically saying, you know, what happens is every time I try to play a song, someone comes here and interrupts me, which was a very basic promo, but the fans started getting bored. And when fans start getting bored, they usually do one of 2 things. They either go, what? Which is a chant I especially hate. But
yeah, thankfully that chant has dipped a lot in popularity since Stone Cold's absence. I remember back in the Invasion angle, it was particularly tedious how loud it was.
And the other is chanting for a particular wrestler named CM Punk. And given that they were recording it in CM Punk's hometown, well, the audience started chanting, CM Punk! CM Punk! And what made it worse was that Elias then did a bit of improv saying, well, one thing's for sure, he's not going to interrupt me tonight. And then John Cena, being John Cena, thought, oh, improv and 4-4 breaking, I can get in on that. Unfortunately, rather than causing the heat to die down, it ended up with the audience continuously chanting CM Punk, but louder.
Yeah, it never helps to feed the trolls. It's something that's really crazy that... I've talked about this before, I'm sure of it, where I likened CM Punk to a puppy that was put down. And the thing is, whereas a child will eventually, understand that the puppy is gone and it's never coming back, WWE fans aren't like that. They have this strange idea that if they, make enough noise, CM Punk will suddenly care about them and come back. If CM Punk really cared, he would have never left in the first place.
Yeah, the fans are creating such a big noise to the point where, at the time of recording, the next Raw episode will be the big 25th anniversary, and it's already been scheduled that a lot of veterans will come back for this one-time show. I mean, a lot of names have been flying around. There's The Undertaker, there's Chris Jericho.
HBK, but not Kevin Nash because he can't travel due to his knee surgery.
That would make sense. And of course, that has led the fans and the rumor machines to go, oh, maybe CM Punk will come back. Yeah, I've heard that WWE were in talks to get him back, and... Okay, this is the thing. If it was just a wrestler who was absent, but potentially could come back, like they left for storyline reasons, like, say, Batista, then I could understand that, yeah, it would be annoying if the fans were continuously chanting their name during matches that had nothing to do with them, but it would still be annoying in that sense, but I could at least understand it. But here's the thing. CM Punk, well, describe who CM Punk was before the incident, before he left.
Well, I mean, I can only say what I know, and I know that CM Punk had all his travel paid for. He had his own tour bus, which only he was allowed on because he didn't want to travel with everyone else. He was very opinionated on his own storylines. He really didn't like anything he saw, like when people cut away from his punches, he wanted those punches to be shot. He wanted to be involved in everything. That's fine, I get it, I understand that. But he had a lot of preferential treatment, he had a lot of money on the table for doing the same thing that everybody else does. I mean, the same thing everyone else does. Everyone else has to wrestle, 5-6 days a week. They don't get their travel paid for them. They don't get nearly as much money. So I can't really respect someone that walks away from that sort of thing. And I know a lot of people were going to be really mad at me.
I was going to say, so you don't like him then?
Yeah, I appreciate what he's done in the ring. I really do. But I really don't like this whole crazy thing that's going on where people are so attached to him. If he really wants to come back, he wouldn't have left in the first place.
Yeah, and this is the thing that's baffled about me. Like, I don't know much about that particular era. So I know that CM Punk was meant to be like a really good wrestler. So I know that much. And again, I would understand if people wanted to come back. It's the particular way he left. Basically, what happened is, for those who don't know, in around, I believe it was 2008, he made this big thing where he had managed to knock out John Cena. And John Cena was lying there in the middle of the ring, and he walks up the ramp underneath the Titantron, and he started to cut a promo saying, hey, I'm going to leave in a few weeks with your championship, but I want to get some things off my chest. And he delivered the big pipe bomb where he didn't just... You likened it to a puppy being put down, but honestly, that analogy to...
No, I nothing against that promo. That was a great promo, man.
Yeah,
he
but...
He brought up the fact that, I might go to New Japan. He broke the rules quite a lot. Really got people behind him.
Yeah, this is the thing. Like, it's not if the puppy was being put down. This is if a puppy kicked your dog water bowl, shat all over your house, ripped up all of the newspapers, and then for good measure weed on your slippers before going out. Because, yeah, that promo was really something else, where he just completely laid into not just WWE management, not just John Cena, but the entire concept of WWE. He continuously, like you said, broke the fourth wall, referred to The Rock as Dwayne, and he was raging about how I'm not being pushed, I'm not even in the montage at the start of the show, I'm not in your collector cups, and the fact that Dwayne is in the main event for WrestleMania and I'm not makes me sick. Even when the fans started cheering, Leva started laying into them going, you guys who are cheering, you're just as big a part of me leaving as the rest of them, because you're still the ones who shove your collector cups in my face so that you can sign it and sell it on eBay rather than getting a real job.
It was pretty fantastic. I mean, it made him the anti-WWE figure, which is very good for him. And that's why, because a lot of people are frustrated with the product, myself included. There's a lot of stuff I would change if I had the ability to, but I'm a mark, what do I know? Anyway, he kind of identified with a lot of those people, a lot of what you would call smart fans. And with that, it really pushed his character over the moon. I just can't ever get past the fact that I know he was really tired with the schedule. I know it really took out a lot from him, but everyone does that schedule. Everybody does the same schedule.
I mean, it also doesn't help that he was also telling a story about how, actually kind of funny given the conversation we just had, like one of the anecdotes he liked to share about how he was frustrated was that he was put in a handicap match where he took on all of the Shield, and he was supposed to win, but while he was working with the spots, he had the executives continuously coming up to him and go, hey, you gotta make Roman look strong. Make sure Roman looks strong. And he was like, well, if you're that worried, why have me win? It's really silly anyway that I get to take on 3 guys at once. And the executives go, oh, no. You see, Vince wants you to go over, but you gotta make Roman look strong. Like, in one way you can see that, yeah, it just shows how lazy WWE creative are, that they want to make Roman look strong at the expense of everything else. But at the same time, I kind of see where you're coming from, because the other way to view that story is CM Punk gets the opportunity to take out 3 guys that were really over at the time.
Yeah, it would be like, I'm just going to pull out here, maybe John Cena beats the entire Nexus. Yeah, they were running a story there. I mean, CM Punk initially has stated that he had an idea for the Shield before its inception where he would lead it, but that never came to pass. That was one of the things that really bugged him. But yeah, he departed in 2014. Don't believe he's ever going to properly come back to wrestling.
Yeah, this is the thing. That's why I'm so baffled by it, because so many people, like, the chanting is insisting that he's got to come back, despite the fact that CM Punk made it absolutely clear in the promo that he had no intention of coming back and hated everything about it. And there was still, like, the 1 or 2 skeptical internet fans who go, oh, the entire thing is scripted. That bit where they cut the mic during the anti-bullying campaign stuff, that was just there to add credibility to it. It wasn't real. To which my response would be, oh, really? Well, good credit to CM Punk for maintaining that character in every single official interview he's had after the fact, where he's, just to add credibility to the storyline, you understand, slags off Triple H at every single opportunity he can get, continuously says that he doesn't miss it and would rather go back to MMA despite a disappointing performance.
Yeah, well, I mean, part of the problem was how he left. In 2014, when he did leave, he just didn't turn up to a show, and he just said, I'm going home. Just didn't turn up, and then he had to just sit down and wait for his contract to run out. I believe he probably got his downside guarantee as well, despite not turning up, because I don't think they wanted to go after him for a breach of contract, because WWE gave him all of the opportunity in the world to come back. They didn't do anything negative about him. I don't even believe they went to the point where they said he was released on their website, so they gave him every opportunity to come back. They tried to play off themselves as the good guys in this. Like I say, people can hate me for it. He was going through the same stuff as everyone else. He could have just said, I need a break, and he would have probably been granted a break or a part-time schedule, and that would have been fine. You've got a lot of wrestlers like Randy Orton who are on a part-time schedule because they've taken a lot of bumps down the road. They're probably near the end of their run, and that's fine because that allows them to extend their career. I can't really feel like they wouldn't have been able to negotiate something with CM Punk. Just nothing came across. We've got new puppies since then. There's new animals out there for us to grow to love. And this is a problem with WWE, always going back to the Attitude Era stars and saying these guys are better than the guys we have now. When you have WrestleMania and you have The Rock and all of his buddies, coming down and beating up the League of Nations and just, shoveling these new guys down, looks really bad. We've got to be saying that someone other than Roman Reigns, because they've got that idea that there needs to be one big top guy on front of every poster and leading the company. Yeah. I think we could have a lot of people leading the company. And it creates the idea that there aren't a lot of stars right now, and it makes the roster in general look weak.
Yeah, I mean, Martin Bellamy, aka Little Karibo, summed this up well in a remark he did discussing the Roman Reigns problem. It's that WWE is writing in exactly the same style as the 80s, where all you need is one big muscular hero with a mustache beating up everyone around him. Whereas, in fact, if you look at TV habits today, like the way shows present themselves, they have a wide range of cast members with individual agendas. That's what a lot of people want from TV nowadays, like multiple characters to which they can attach themselves to and see interact. But the WWE still believes in that whole, nope, there's just the one big face of the company and the people around him. I think that's also why people boo Roman Reigns as well. The idea that they can make one big star and you have to watch him win whether you like it or not.
Yeah, Roman Reigns, unfortunately, is put in that position where he doesn't have any say over his character, and it's not really his fault that people are booing him. They're portraying him as the company man. He can't really stop that. I think he'd make a much better heel, but they never feel ready to pull the trigger on that. Back to CM Punk, I can't feel sorry for him. He's not one of the people. He's a very rich man, and so's his wife.
Yeah.
So I can't feel bad for him. Anyone would kill for that spot that he had. Anyone would do anything to be on WWE TV if that was their dream.
Yeah, in my case, it's more that I don't feel any sympathy for the fans. Because, yeah, you really liked him as a wrestler, maybe even liked him as a person. That's great. But if you're a real fans, you would understand that he does not want to come back, so stop trying to force the issue.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to come back. He's not your performing monkey. He's made that very clear.
And it's to the point where the crowd are trying to take over the show. I mentioned it before in Royal Rumbles prior, where the Daniel Bryan chants ruined the Royal Rumble, and the boos at Roman Reigns. I mean, like, we all know we don't really want Roman Reigns to win the Rumble, but don't destroy the whole show with the crowd chants.
Yeah, I mean, even when, like, at the very end, that really tragic moment when they tried to have The Rock hold up Roman Reigns' hand and the entire crowd is chanting, bullshit, bullshit.
Yeah, man. And the biggest cheer that Rusev, as a massive heel back then, got for coming back in the ring but then getting thrown out.
Yeah.
That could have been a good Rusev day.
Yeah. It's just really irritating. Yeah, like you, I'm getting annoyed that they're trying to take over shows. Like, yeah, there are some matches you're not interested in, but for God's sake, let it go, man.
Well, I wonder how it's going to be when at WrestleMania Roman Reigns defeats Brock Lesnar for the Universal title. Because that's definitely happening. It's been set in stone for years. So we'll come to that when we come to the Royal Rumble predictions, I'm sure.
Yeah. Oh, dude, but yeah, that's generally all I have. Just except he's gone, man. It's time. He's not coming back. He doesn't want to come back. In fact, if you were to turn around and say, please come back, he most likely would respond with one of his fingers.
Quite right. And in a similar sense to when we spoke about the WWE booking, which feels like it's week to week, and I actually checked out something the Big Show said that they pretty much are booking week for week when they used to book months in advance. Big matches are set in stone, they book week for week. We spoke a lot about that, and we kind of just got to the point of, like, it is what it is. And similar to CM Punk, it is what it is. And hopefully, like with the what chants, maybe it'll sort of trickle down to a little less loud eventually. But when the superstars ire the crowd, that's when it gets awkward.
Honestly, I don't know what it would take to fix it, aside from CM Punk walking into the ring, saying, fuck you all, and then walking out.
No, that would be worse than ever. That would bring him back into the limelight.
Oh, that's true, yes. I don't know what he could do, really. I mean, even if he beats up a puppy, like, not even a metaphorical puppy, a literal puppy live on stage, they would still be getting him over.
I don't know. If he had to fight the puppy in the octagon, I don't know how that would go.
Oh, this is going to be weird. So, yeah, let's move on.
Chew off his ear. Okay, should we move on?
Yeah, probably.
Let's do that. Predictions time. We're bound to get many of these wrong, but I'm going to go over my predictions and Jonin to weigh in on this with the NXT TakeOver Philadelphia and the Royal Rumble. First of all, NXT TakeOver Philadelphia, which is going to take place next week, January 27th, 2018. However, has already been filmed. So when I looked it up for the match card, I have results in front of me. So be warned. Be warned, everybody.
This is the first for the show in that we actually get a prediction beforehand.
Oh, yeah. So I don't have any predictions here. I just have results, unfortunately. Which makes me a little mad because I'm going to watch this next week. But oh well. NXT TakeOver Philadelphia. Pre-taped, as many of the NXT events are. First match we have is Johnny Gargano versus Andrade Cien Almas with Zelina Vega. Really cool story going between these two. Johnny Gargano building his way back up to title contention, with Andrade being the kind of, you said it before, the foreign heel. What really bugs me about that is Andrade is not saying much English. He's having Zelina Vega talk for him, which is great because she's awesome at talking. And now he's the champion. He really looks the part. The thing is, when Andrade came into NXT, he was speaking fluent English. It's just now they've changed his character. He's not saying any English. He's saying a bit of his native language, and Zelina Vega is translating it for him. And he's even speaking with an accent, which he didn't before. So it's kind of painful to see that. But I do think the pairing with Zelina Vega is really cool, makes him look really strong, which is surprising because the end result of this match is actually that Johnny Gargano defeats Andrade Cien Almas for the NXT Championship.
Huh.
Very surprising.
Yeah, well, I guess if they were going with the foreign heel angle, it would make sense that the up-and-comer would take him down. I just, from the sounds of it, because keeping in mind, I don't watch NXT, but I have been meaning to. This sounds like a really cool combination of manager and champion, and I would have liked the reign to last a bit longer, but no.
Granted, because it hasn't been broadcast yet, we don't know how exactly this transpires, if there's any shenanigans going on, but we shall see. Either way, Johnny Wrestling comes out with the NXT Championship. How long he'll hold on to it is up for debate, because with Drew McIntyre injured, which is who I thought initially would be taking the title away from Andrade, won't be happening until he's cleared. We have Johnny Gargano running with the title, which is really interesting. Either way, Johnny's a great wrestler. Maybe his former tag team partner from DIY is going to resurface, and they're going to get back into a scruff and hopefully not injure each other again.
Yeah.
So we have that. Next match we have, it seems like we're going from the top of the card down, but, you know, it might have been filmed in random order, it might be broadcast differently, we don't know yet. The next match I have down here is Aleister Black versus Adam Cole in an Extreme Rules match. Now, Adam Cole to shock the system. Adam Cole, baby! Who is part of that faction he's made up, the Undisputed Era. You would think he would come in with a lot of support from his tag team partners, Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly, who also have a match down on the card. And since it's an Extreme Rules match, I've said this before in other matches, there is no damn reason why Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly can't just come in and make it a 3-on-1 match. It's an Extreme Rules match, there's no rules, nothing stops them from doing that. And yet, written in front of me is Aleister Black defeats Adam Cole, most likely with that Black Mass kick.
Well, of course it would be. You can't interrupt Aleister Black's badassery. I mean, if you had people coming into the match, he wouldn't be able to sit and meditate in the middle of the ring.
Yeah, it seems very weird for me, because now he's just been taking these losses to Aleister Black. He really shouldn't be, because he leads a faction. It's kind of what they've been doing with Eric Young's faction, where that's just it's gone down. I mean, largely due to injuries from Alexander Wolf, but that's kind of brought down. What was really fun is there's still a bit of a rivalry between Eric Young's faction and Adam Cole's, with Nikki Cross trying to come out and fight Adam Cole after they beat down their faction, which is really funny.
Nice.
So we'll see what happens, but it looks like Aleister Black comes away with a victory, despite the fact that Adam Cole could have legally had a 3-on-1 handicap match. I imagine there'll be some crazy weapons involved. Last time there was a ladder match on NXT, which was between Asuka and Nikki Cross. It was really awesome, so I have high expectations for that match. The next match down here is Ember Moon versus Shayna Baszler for the NXT Women's Championship.
Ah, yes. Was she the one that was hired after the Mae Young Classic? Or?
Yes, she was. She was runner-up, lost to Kairi Sane, who I expected to be more forthright in the championship picture. And a matter of fact, when it came to NXT War Games, I had predicted her to win. But Ember Moon came away with the title. Looks like it's going to be a really cool match. Shayna's been played as quite the powerhouse, a bit of a bully. They've shown her go around backstage and even interrupt matches at the end of them just to put people in her submission hold and just choke them out. She's really got a lot of size going for her. She's got a different look as an MMA fighter. Looks a bit more legitimate in the same way that Brock Lesnar does. It says here that Ember Moon defeats Shayna.
Yeah, that makes sense, because I have actually seen a clip of that particular match, and it's kind of that classic thing where Ember Moon steps in after Shayna started beating up some of the other women, and she was going, hey, if you want to bully someone, how about taking me on? It's that kind of very classic heel-face conflict where the face is trying to stop the heel who's being the bully. So yeah, I can see why Ember Moon would win at this stage.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised, in all honesty. I think it almost damages Shayna's credibility to lose again after losing in the Mae Young Classic. It's like with Angle. When Kurt Angle wanted to come to the WWE initially, he said, I should never lose a match, I'm a legitimate athlete. I'm surprised at having Shayna take these losses. With her credibility as an MMA fighter, you'd think that would make her easier to sell for a win. But then again, there's no reason not to have Ember Moon continue to hold the title.
Yeah, plus, let's not forget she was the one that was supposed to end Asuka's streak. They were really building her up that way. So I can kind of understand that, yeah, it does kind of damage Shayna's credibility, although admittedly that doesn't work for all MMA characters. Just look at poor Sonya Deville. But I can kind of see why, of the two, they prefer to keep making Ember Moon look strong for the time being. Like, there's no reason why Saber can't build herself up and then come back.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if that leads on to another big match down the line. Certainly, both of those women could easily be in the Royal Rumble. How many women do they have on SmackDown and Raw? They are going to have to draw in from NXT.
Yeah.
I think that definitely the Iconic Duo will probably make an appearance, although you don't know if these are just going to be guest spots, because I know they've been talking about people like Molly Holly coming in for a one-off spot, so that'll be interesting. I would prefer not to see that sort of thing, because it happens in the Royal Rumble, the Men's Royal Rumble, and I always get really annoyed when they bring in someone like the Honky Tonk Man. Love the Honky Tonk Man, but, you know, if he's just coming in, like the Boogie, they did it with the Boogeyman. If the Boogeyman's just coming in to eat a couple of worms and then get thrown out by Bray Wyatt, what's the point? That could have been someone else's spot.
They also did the same for Daniel Bryan in that one Royal Rumble that, like we mentioned, led to the long string of booing, which in hindsight, they're probably regretting that.
In fairness, Daniel Bryan often gets a bit more time in the ring. A lot of these one-off guest stars just come in, get knocked out, and that's it.
True.
And then finally, we have the Undisputed Era, Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish versus the Authors of Pain, Inkem and Razar, for the NXT Tag Team Championships. The NXT Tag Division is suffering that kind of problem that the SmackDown Tag Division was suffering for a little while, where there just aren't enough teams. And I think this could be a similar situation on Raw, even with the reformation of the Bullet Club. Sorry, Balor Club.
Yeah.
What a stupid name. There just aren't enough tag teams going around. Having said that, I would still really like to see a women's tag title crop up at some point, because what's the point of having a faction if there's only a singles title? But that's neither here nor there, is it? There aren't a lot of tag teams going for it, especially with Eric Young's faction being taken out due to injury and other matters. You have just these two big factions going after each other, the Authors of Pain and the Undisputed Era. It's down here that the Undisputed Era win the match. Not unsurprising, because I predict the Authors of Pain, and I predicted a while ago, maybe on the fast track to the main roster. They're big guys, you know. They've got that Samoan look to themselves. They've got that kind of cool, almost Shield-like gear that could really sell. Bring them in as like special forces or hitmen or mercenaries. We shall see how they shall do, but I think they may be moving up. So, we move on to Royal Rumble.
Yeah, and the first match is
redacted by the future, for reasons I'll get into in the next podcast.
Next up is the Usos versus Chad Gable and Sheldon Benjamin, aka American Alpha 2.0.
Yeah, and this is one of those strange decisions from Daniel Bryan to make this a 2 out of 3 falls match, which is funny because back in the olden days, I remember it was the British Bulldogs tag team, and because they were Europeans, every title match they had was contested under European rules, which is 2 out of 3 falls. So I think it's quite a fair way to determine a championship. You don't have the quick victory or loss in the first seconds of the match. Although quite often with these 2 out of 3 fall matches, they will run through the first 2 falls extremely quickly. One team will get the first 4, the other team will get a quick roll up, and then it'll only matter to the third 4. So the fact that it is a 2 out of 3 falls match will not really impact the match at all.
Yeah, that's usually how they run it. It's like with Lucha Underground when they had the final 2 matches of Tejano and Cage's 5 series at the same time. The first match was really quick, which ended with Cage having his head smashed into the post, and then they just carried on with the second battle, which was much longer.
Yeah, it would be nice to see something unusual done, like maybe one of the teams intentionally disqualifies themselves by steel chairing someone's leg, injure them for the third fall, even though that's really stupid. I've seen that sort of thing happen before, but it's all going to come down to the third 4. One team will get the first 4, one team will get the second 4, and then I imagine the Usos retain. Having said that, why are the Usos face at the moment anyway?
Well, they may also change because Jey Uso has been recently arrested for driving under the influence, basically drinking and driving, and at the moment WWE have taken a response of, well, he's responsible for his own actions. We will wait for an official report from the local police department.
So it seems like it's very likely they may take the titles off them during that period. It also comes to mind that when I was saying that why are the Usos face, maybe they made them face just so they would be the opposition for American Alpha 2.0. So with that in mind, it's very likely that American Alpha 2.0 will take the titles so that the New Day can win them back and have as many reigns as possible.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely play American Alpha 2.0 as the heels right now, because they were aggressively taking on the Usos and the New Day. It almost got lost when Rusev Day came down and pretty much stole the show, but I should say that both Chad Gable and Shelton Benjamin were holding their own and kind of like a really good heel promo. Although I do kind of wish Rusev Day were getting a big push, I do have to say American Alpha 2.0 have been really making a name for themselves, so even if it's not the most ideal circumstances, if they get the Tag Team Championships, I think it would be pretty good, especially since, well, we need a bit of a shake-up so it's not just the New Day versus the Usos all the time.
Granted, yeah. However, like I said previously, I expect the New Day are in line to take many, many, many championship runs.
Of course.
Because they want to put them in the record books further, which is fine. They've done a lot for WWE programming, and they really want to put them up there. They gave them the longest title reign. They'll probably give them the most titles. It's very easily done now. They've got two tag titles around, which is how Cena got the title so many times. You know, the World Championship. It's going to happen for the New Day. It's just a matter of time.
Indeed. And with that, we move on to the Raw Tag Team Champions, the Shields, or what's left of the Shield, with Seth Rollins and Jason Jordan taking on Sheamus and Cesaro, aka The Bar.
Yeah, so this is Shield 2.0, also known as the Champions Club, dubbed by Jason Jordan, taking on The Bar, Sheamus and Cesaro for the tag team titles, the Raw tag team titles, as you correctly said. The previous was the SmackDown Tag Team Championships. There's two ways this match can go. Either Jason Jordan and Seth Rollins miscue to some extent, where they start up some sort of rivalry. There was a really weird thing that happened last week on Raw. It looked like a member of the Champions Club was going to take a loss, but despite the fact the referee counted to 3, he waved it off as a 2, and the Champions Club received the win later on anyway. This seemed like a mistake. Often you see the referee accidentally count more times than they're supposed to, but the strange thing was that they replayed this on the replay and brought notice to it.
Huh.
So there may be this sort of thing where perhaps the word has come down from Kurt Angle, Jason Jordan's father, to look out for the Champions Club. With the referees, which would be a very interesting angle if that were true. The referee definitely did count 3 and they should have lost. So we either have some sort of corruption angle coming in from up top with Jason Jordan being awarded these wins, or you have the team implode to a certain extent and Sheamus and Cesaro are able to take the win.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult to say which one they'll go with, because admittedly, like, that referee thing, it's the first time anything like this has even been hinted, because most of the time it's been Kurt Angle actively telling Jason Jordan, look, you've got to stop coming to me to ask for matches because I can't be seen to be playing favourites. But at the same time, like you said, it's a bit weird that they kept calling attention to the fact that they should have lost by now. But at the same time, the implosion thing is working, because the Shield 2.0, or frankly, with the number of changes it's made due to injury, it should be Shield 4.0 at this point. But yeah, it was obviously a last-minute thing, but I do actually kind of like the dynamic they've been having, which is, like, Jason Jordan's like this big fanboy of, oh yeah, we're the Champions Club, we're an amazing team, we are holding the championships, and we're taking on everyone and proving we're the best. And Seth Rollins is like a frustrated dad who's going, look, you can't just pick a fight. We're a team now. You have to consult me on these things. You can't just pick a fight with anyone who's annoyed of you. And Roman Reigns, every time he sees Jason Jordan, he's giving him an expression of, what the hell are you doing here, kid?
Yeah, so I remember now, it was Seth Rollins versus Finn Balor. Seth Rollins got the win with a curb stomp, returning that move to his arsenal, despite the fact it looked like he should have lost the match.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. Jason's also coming out, running his mouth, getting into fights with Seth Rollins.
Basically every
control. Yeah, every week, as you say. It's interesting to see where that will develop. I know Roman Reigns has made it very clear he's not invested in the Shield right now. He's got a single championship. Seth Rollins and Jason Jordan have their own titles. The Shield isn't really happening, despite the fact it would have been good to have the Shield around, to put some baby face towards Roman Reigns as he does head towards a bigger championship in the future.
I mean, in fairness, this whole storyline has basically been born out of injuries, because, like we said earlier, Dean Ambrose got injured, so they couldn't really have Kurt Angle come in to join them again. So It kind of made sense that they had to find someone, and Jason Jordan was a good fit. Although, I will say that considering that this is basically one big mess that's been thrown on their lap, I like how they've been able to kind of work this angle to just sort of shift the dynamic, and it doesn't show the babyface qualities of them, but it does add a bit more character to the other two, just to show how they really deal with someone who is essentially a rookie being thrown into their laps and told to look after them.
Yeah, it's good to have Jason Jordan doing some more of this high-profile storyline. It allows him to rub shoulders with some of the bigger names. That can only work out well for him.
Yeah, if they do go with the corruption angle, I mean, many people have been saying that Jason Jordan's going to turn heel. And there is definitely a lot of ammunition for it right now, with that he's trying to be friendly with the bigger stars, but they, in his eyes, all continuously look down at him and aren't giving him respect, even though in their eyes it's because he keeps, like you said, running his mouth off and picking fights with everyone he can find. And if we were to then suddenly find out, oh wait, the only reason you won is because your father was telling the referees to let you win, that would seriously tip him over the edge, I think.
Yeah, and it would be something that they should have done with Roman Reigns a while ago that they still haven't done. When the crowd aren't acting favourably to someone that you were trying to push as a babyface, just turn them heel. Like, that, you're getting a reaction. A reaction is good. So, use it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really funny because they were mad because he wasn't Chad Gable. Well, now they've made Chad Gable heel for some reason, and there doesn't seem to be any backlash from that.
I think it's mainly because Chad Gable has then been put to Shelton Benjamin is allowed to just sort of let the character progress naturally. The problem is, kind of like with Raw, they've been pushing Jason Jordan into everything, and it's one of those things where everyone's been saying, it's really obvious Jason Jordan's not his son, why are they pushing this angle? Yeah, and it's also obvious the Undertaker's not a zombie.
Are you sure about that? I saw him come back from the dead when his grave was struck by lightning. Yeah, it'll be nice to see where it goes. I think that the champions retain is going to be my prediction, but I wouldn't be surprised if something goes awry there, and maybe it leads up to friction in the Rumble match itself.
Yeah. Speaking of friction, AJ Styles in a handicap match against Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn.
Very unusual, yeah, very, very crazy. So AJ Styles got screwed over on SmackDown Live because of interference by one of Team Yep, let's call him. And
well, it happened twice, because the first time it was against Sami Zayn, and Shane McMahon was supposedly defending AJ Styles, trying to stop Kevin Owens from interfering, but then, as it turns out, he accidentally distracted AJ Styles, and that got him into the schoolboy pin-up, and then had Sami Zayn win the title, and then, actually, it might have been the other way around now that I think about it, because it was Kevin Owens first, because on the New Year, they did it as kind of a celebration to the big rivalry between AJ Styles and Kevin Owens, although, from what I remember, most people were complaining that match went on way too long.
When the next week came around, they had Shane McMahon put himself on ringside, to which Daniel Bryan also put himself on ringside, and there was a lot of distraction going on in the match. When the finish came about, AJ Styles was very frustrated with how it was going. He didn't like all the politics getting involved in his match. It was putting his championship at risk. So he said, why don't you just make it a handicap match? And he said that in jest, out of frustration. Daniel Bryan, we're not really sure why, because he seemed like he was just trying to show Shane McMahon how crazy his decisions were, making an equally crazy decision himself. So he made it a handicap match for the pay-per-view, which is what we have. What it does seem like is it seems like the guys in charge are kind of just playing with the guys who are superstars.
Yeah.
Although it does create that idea that perhaps Daniel Bryan is in some sort of cohesion with Team Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it's really awkward because it's one of those things where Daniel Bryan has made it clear on several occasions that he doesn't actually like them. I mean, in storyline purposes. There's no backstage here as far as I'm aware. In terms of storyline purposes, he's made it clear that he doesn't like them, but he does seem to be making these strangely helpful decisions, like the US title tournament, which screws Baron Corbin out of an opportunity. What we didn't mention this before, the whole 2 out of 3 falls match happened because they almost had a pin, but the ref either got distracted or was hit, I don't know, and they were claiming that we should have had the win, so...
that match, it was the wrong Uso was pinned.
Yeah, that was it. So they were claiming, well, hang on, we should have had that win. And then they went, all right, let's make it a 2 out of 3 falls match.
What's frustrating every time a referee comes down to reverse a decision like what happened there is I think back to when Alexa Bliss was on SmackDown and she was screwed out of a win by a referee making a wrong decision. And Shane McMahon at the time went, well, the referee's call stands. And yet you often see now when a call comes down that's wrong from the referee, they'll make a whole big scene about it and change the decision on the fly.
That or arrange some kind of special match, which ironically was how this whole Kevin Owens against Shane McMahon feud started in the first place.
Yes, so we're going to see where this develops. It's really hard to think about AJ Styles retaining his championship on a handicap match. But then, likely, we'll get some involvement from Shane McMahon.
This is the thing that's interesting about this, is that, yeah, you're right that shenanigans are gonna happen, but it's trying to figure out where the hell their taking is, because if they're trying to make Daniel Bryan heel, I mean, he has been making crazy decisions, but nothing completely dickish, like nothing that would actually make him like a complete heel, because Shane McMahon's actually been showing more signs of that. Like every single time Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn are involved in a match, he decides, right, I'm just going to get in there and stand on the side, you know.
It makes you wonder if the face value of Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens is going to rise, if they're going to become popular by extension from Daniel Bryan. Because when they're given opportunities, at some points Daniel Bryan does incite the yes chant, you know, that they weren't fired and things like that. It seems to be sort of automatic that the crowd respond to those. You've got to wonder if at some point people are going to stop booing them and start cheering them, and at which point, how does that work out? Because these are heel.
Yeah, that's the point. Like, I think Shane McMahon's meant to be the face, but he's not acting like the face. When this whole thing started happening with Shane McMahon getting involved and distracting AJ Styles, I thought they were restarting that feud again, which made me think, well, hang on a minute. You tried this at WrestleMania a couple of years... I mean, hell, it was even last year you tried this again, and it didn't work then, because I know WWE Creative has a hard time processing this, but no one wants to see Shane McMahon wrestle.
It's due to that fact that he's not in the ring all the time. I don't want to be mean, but he is often crawling around the ring rather than making his way around it.
Yeah, well, the thing is, the angle they always go with that, though, oh, it's like the ordinary person going up against the superstars, but that...
Oh, the ordinary person who is a millionaire.
Yeah, yeah, that's the angle they always go with, and it sounds cool in theory, but then in actuality you realise, oh, hang on, that's why you don't get wrestling matches like this, because it's frankly dull to watch.
I mean, I love Shane McMahon, he's done a lot of great matches, but he's not in the same shape as a lot of the big stars are at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, I like him as a manager and as a character, but I think this idea that we really want to watch him in wrestling in WrestleMania, that's the bit that made me think, okay, that's just they're kind of really pushing their luck with this.
Well, he seems to sell, the name sells. It's like The Undertaker. The Undertaker can't go to the same way that he used to. But if you stick The Undertaker on a pay-per-view, everyone's going to watch it.
I suppose that's true.
Which is the unfortunate truth. And it's a big problem with what we came back to earlier, that they're not making stars. They're just relying on names from the past. They can easily make people megastars. They can easily put them over. Unfortunately, a lot of people who would have been good candidates, like Big Cass and Samoa Joe, are getting injured. So we'll see how they deal with that, because eventually they won't be able to rely on these names from the past, and they'll have to make new characters. After that, a very interesting match that was announced on Raw after one of the women's matches. Stephanie McMahon came out. It was very weird because it kind of stopped the show for a bit. It was at the end of Raw as well, so it was kind of like the main event and how they finished the show. It was a little weird to me because it had faces and heels standing together celebrating the same thing, and I know it was the fact that they're celebrating women in wrestling, but it was really weird.
Yeah, well, apparently, from what I understand, like, for some reason it decided it wanted to be a complete surprise even to the competitors. Like, the whole reason everyone was standing there not acting in character was because they had just been told Stephanie McMahon's going to make an announcement. They had not been told what they were actually standing in the ring for.
That's very interesting. That might explain why they almost didn't know what to say or do.
Yeah.
And with that, they announced the first ever Women's Royal Rumble match, which is why the tagline for this year's Royal Rumble is more Rumble than ever, I think. I think it's something like, I was going to say more Rumble than Rumble, but I think it's more Rumble than ever.
Yeah, honestly, it's much better than some of the past taglines, which have been one versus all. This is when they were really shoving the Roman Reigns thing. And then last year's was friend versus friend, foe versus foe. The last one being basically what every single match is.
Yeah. Nevertheless, you have two 30-person Royal Rumble matches, which is cool because the Royal Rumble match is the best part of the Royal Rumble.
Oh god, yes.
When I go back to watch Royal Rumbles on the network, I maybe make my way through the first couple of matches before I just skip to the Rumble, which is often what I end up doing. This is really cool. There's going to be two of them.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like they're back-to-back. It looks like they have the Women's Royal Rumble and then the World Title match and then the other Royal Rumble. I would almost like them to be back-to-back, but that's my preference, so if I want to skip them on the network, I can go straight to two Rumbles. That's kind of cool. It's going to be 30 women, the same as the 30 men for the men's match, so you should get a good amount of match length, even though there isn't another women's match on the card. It seems really weird that, there's two women's titles. There's no women's title match on the card. That's frustrating, but, you're going to deal with that because I imagine the champions will be in the Rumble. It doesn't make sense because if they win the Rumble, what do? Do they challenge the other title?
I mean, I presume not, because one of the storylines they were pushing is that Alexa Bliss is saying, I'm glad to fight and defeat whoever wins the Rumble, and then Asuka came out and said, I'm going to win the Rumble and I'm going to take your title belt, which is a breath of fresh air, frankly, because I think it's the first time any of the Women in Wars women's division have acknowledged that championship exists and it's a thing they can get.
Nevertheless, it's kind of cool. I expect they will have to include the champions, because otherwise they just don't have them on the card, which seems really weird not to have Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss on the card. It does point to the fact that they can't possibly win, because how does that work?
I guess the only explanation for it would be that the Royal Rumble is like a large match in itself, so I guess that could be their justification for it. Although then again, I would prefer to see a women's title match over, say, just to take a completely random example, the Cruiserweight.
Yeah, as you say, completely random. Maybe we could not see Enzo Amore's match. Or, just take him out and put Charlotte Flair in there instead. That's what I said with Nia Jax. I was surprised Nia Jax wasn't trying to make ways into the Cruiserweight division, because I thought that's what they were intending to do with her. But it does seem that they are genuinely running an angle where she's all smitten for Enzo, which is really weird. So they go between two characters of Nia Jax now. One with her kind of hair down, and she comes out into ring, she's all business, and she beats people up. And then one where she's suddenly got pink pigtails.
Yeah, it's really weird. Like,
I don't know if they're like teenage girly over Enzo.
I don't know if they're trying to do an Incredible Hulk or Jekyll and Hyde angle, which is, I'm really sweet, I'm really sweet. Give me one moment.
That's when you say Jekyll and Hyde, you reminded me of the Hammer horror film when he turns into Hyde, Jekyll turns into a woman for some reason.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Which is a really weird film. But yeah, not really sure. I mean, Nia Jax is a favourite to win. We're going to see a lot of women that don't get a lot of screen time anyway, like Tamina. Lana's probably going to be in it, but she'll get eliminated very early.
The interesting thing, and the reason why I find it a bit difficult to predict a winner, is because like you said, there aren't quite enough women. There are going to be some surprised guests coming in. Some of them are returning. There was also supposed to be some people from the Renee Young Classic. No, not the Renee Runner. The Mae Young...
the Mae Young Classic.
Whoops. Maybe that's next year.
Oh, wow, I can't wait for the Renee Young Classic.
Okay, the Mae Young...
Can you imagine the Renee Young Classic? My guest at this time? My guest at this time? My guest at this time? I imagine it would get one episode and then be cancelled.
Oh, that'd be sad. But yeah. Oh god, but yeah, the Mae Young Classic. There's supposed to be some fighters coming in from that.
So I think the ones I've heard about are Molly Holly and Michelle McCool, the Undertaker's wife. They are predicted to be in it. I know Candice LeRae has been signed.
That's the one, yeah.
She's the other side of Johnny Wrestling, and she may be making an appearance.
And supposedly there are some MMA fighters who are also coming in. Like, one of the things that people have been talking about, I don't know if it's ever going to happen, but supposedly Ronda Rousey is going to use this as her debut, and she will be in the main roster and take out Asuka, thus breaking the streak.
That would be a very good spot to bring her in. I wouldn't say if Asuka doesn't win this match that it would break the streak because it's a Royal Rumble. She hasn't been defeated in singles competition. She did actually lose a match. It was a tag match. It was a mixed tag, I believe, and I think it was with Ty Dillinger on a live event, but they didn't count that. Her team lost because Ty lost. So I think because she wasn't pinned, they don't count it, but they also don't count it anyway because it was a live event. I don't know if they will count a Royal Rumble loss as a loss.
That's true.
Having said that, my prediction is that Asuka will win.
Yeah, it would make the most sense given that Asuka's going for the title run, and at the last episode at the time of recording, I don't know if it's an actual injury or not, but she supposedly
it is not an actual injury.
Okay. I didn't think it was, given that they did a spot right afterwards where Alexa Bliss and for some reason Enzo are coming to console her.
Yeah, so Nia Jax took a really bad fall onto her leg during a match with Asuka. Asuka had been working the leg the whole match, and she kicked her down, and she fell between the ring steps and the apron, and took a lot of damage there, couldn't continue the match. Now she has a leg injury, which is a kind of parallel to Enzo, who's, the person she's pursuing.
Oh, God, I hadn't realised that. Oh,
yeah, it's really weird. I don't understand this, because anyone that knows, anything about Asuka and Nia Jax, you'll know that Asuka's already beaten Nia Jax twice on NXT. Same time, same move, I believe. I think it was a reverse chokehold both times, like a guillotine. Like a sleeper hold from behind. Nia Jax never learned until when she got on Raw that you could break that hold by walking to the ropes. Because she's standing whilst that's going on. She could just walk to the ropes. Nevertheless, I think that's the move. If I recall correctly, that she used to beat her both times, just a reverse choke. And so she's already beaten her twice. I don't know if they thought, yeah, I don't know if they thought they were protecting Nia Jax by having it end this way. You're not protecting her by making it look like she can't compete to the end of a match. And Asuka was able to beat her down so bad that she couldn't finish a match.
Yeah, it's one of those really weird things, especially since now that I think about it, I just said, it doesn't count, but it's really weird what they claim does and doesn't count. Like, they're still using Asuka has the undefeated streak, but they failed to acknowledge the fact that that undefeated streak also included her squashing Nia Jax multiple times.
Yeah, so I think what should have happened is Nia Jax should have just not made the 10 count. That would have partially protected her, because the count-out victory is not the same as TKO, which is what it ended up being. Nevertheless, it was interesting to see that. And then it also points to the fact that will this undisputed streak be lost if Asuka and The Miz lose in the Mixed Match Challenge?
Oh, that's another good one, yeah.
They're actually my pick to win at the moment.
That would make a lot of sense, yes.
Nevertheless, my pick is Asuka for the Women's Royal Rumble.
Yeah, I would say...
Are you going to say Ronda? Are you going to take an outside bet?
I would say it's either going to be Asuka or a surprise guest. I think that they wanted to introduce someone onto the roster and instantly get momentum behind them. I can imagine that they would think that's the best way to do it. Whether they'll actually work or if the fans will just instantly hate them, I don't know. But
I don't think they will hate them because they'll bring a lot of publicity. Ronda's a film star. She's a big star in MMA.
Yeah.
It'll be very, very good for a very good platform to come as a surprise guest. I'm surprised they've kept it as under wraps as they have. If it's going to happen, which tells me it's probably not going to happen.
Yeah, that's
but
what
it may
I'm
well
thinking.
do. We know that there are big plans for a main event at WrestleMania for the 4 Horsewomen versus WWE 4 Horsewomen. So that's something that could happen. I'm going to pick Asuka because I think she's probably going to win it.
Yeah, that would make the most sense given the angle they're currently going for.
It's great to see Asuka being given the push she deserves, recovering from the really weird introduction they gave her where they had Emma almost beat her twice.
Yeah.
But where's Emma now?
Yeah.
Let me do my best Leo Rush impersonation. I guess Emma wasn't ready for Asuka. And then he loses his next NXT match and he's not on television since. There was a little bit on WWE.com where it was saying, Leo Rush is thinking he's not really ready for NXT.
Oh, wow.
Saying that he needs to think about how he wants to proceed in wrestling. Really funny. Emma's going to land on her feet. She's going to do great wherever she goes. Just really weird that now we have this time with the Women's Royal Rumble that they wouldn't have held on to a competitor like Emma, who could certainly go from the early numbers right up into the end. She could wrestle that long.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? Maybe she's one of the surprise guests, but yeah, honestly, I
doubt it. I think she's burnt her bridges by not accepting that character they wanted. We'll see. I think there's going to be a lot of quick eliminations, unfortunately. They'll probably get to the point where they have Nia Jax come in, or Tamina or someone really big and just throw people out all the time so they don't need many people in the ring.
Indeed, yeah.
After that match, we have the World Heavyweight. I apologise, that's the name of a real title. Let's go for the WWE Universal Championship.
Yeah.
And that is a triple threat between Brock Lesnar with Paul Heyman, Braun Strowman, the Monster Among Men, and the Big Red Machine, Kane.
Yeah, this is one which I don't know how to feel about it, because on the one hand, yeah, it's you've got the three big heavyweights, they will be trashing things, it'll be great, but at the same time, it's been really weird how they're playing this, because let's be honest, the entire attention has been focused on Braun Strowman. Like, he's the one getting the big push. In fact, last week's Raw at the time of recording was basically the Braun Strowman show, where Kurt Angle tried to fire him. He then basically smashed everything about the WWE stage, from the commentators to a TV truck. And
you know what was really funny about that Kurt Angle wanted to fire him? So we've already had Roman Reigns try and kill Braun Strowman with a truck, and Roman Reigns was not fired. We've already had Kane throw Braun Strowman into a garbage truck and try and crush him, and he wasn't fired. And yet Braun Strowman is fired for, bringing down the scaffolding on Kane and Brock Lesnar.
Well,
so that was a weird decision.
It was weird, but here's the funny thing. It's kind of that weird thing you mentioned where Alicia Fox attacked someone, but I believe it was Alexa Bliss from behind, but she didn't get in trouble for attacking the champion unprovoked. She got in trouble for touching the official, and that was...
Yes.
It doesn't make any logical sense, but that was also something Kurt worked in. It's like, you could have made Brock Lesnar, and you could have harmed some of the staff. And that was basically the main reason. Like, apparently the weird WWE logic is you can use any tactic on a wrestler, including lethal force, and you'll still have a job, but touch any of the staff and oh man, you'll work in this town again.
It's weird how being a professional wrestler allows any amount of violence to transpire outside of the ring. I remember back in the day watching WCW, and these two wrestlers just grabbed somebody, threw them in a trunk, and then got crowbars and drove off. As if that's something you could ever do to someone else and still turn up the next morning and go, I'm here for work. What did you do yesterday? Did you steal someone and take them out to beat them with crowbars somewhere? Yeah, so it was wrestling. No, you're fired.
Like, even with correct me if I'm wrong, but in the storyline continuity of WWE, wasn't Stephanie McMahon married to Triple H because Triple H kidnapped her, drugged her, and then married her while she was passed out?
I don't recall. I do remember that Vince McMahon turned out to be the higher power between the Ministry of Darkness, would have seemingly had The Undertaker kidnap Stephanie McMahon and marry her to gain a foothold into WWE. So that was a weird thing that happened. But yeah, it's weird how far they stray from in-ring competition. Regardless, Braun Strowman was, as you say, put over incredibly. They did a lot of backstage segments with him, beating up security guards after the previous episode where he pulled down scaffolding on top of Kane and Brock Lesnar, which was really cool. He did all sorts of madness backstage. Something that really cracked me up is where he stopped doing all of his madness because someone was holding a chocolate cake and he just grabbed a bit of chocolate cake and ate it and then walked off. Very funny for them to add a little bit of humour to Braun Strowman to humanise him a little bit. He tipped over a truck again, which was kind of cool, but it was very much one of those pre-taped segments where they had it from different angles so they could have it lifted without him doing it. That was very cool. You got that idea that Braun Strowman could pretty much do anything he wanted to do because of how unpredictable his offense is outside of the ring. I think they needed to do something like this because Braun Strowman lost in a single match to Brock Lesnar previously, which is a very bad decision, I think. Takes away a lot of Braun Strowman's credibility, but they've really brought it back. Kane has never fought Brock Lesnar in a one-on-one match, and I think Kane's lineage speaks for himself, especially now they've brought him back and made him a bit stronger, against that of Finn Balor, someone that he beat recently. People are a bit mad about that, but you've got to make Kane look strong. I don't think anyone really expects Kane to win this match.
Yeah.
So it's pretty much Kane's just added in there to add a little variety to the match. Kane's at the end of his run. I don't really see, maybe he might win the title. It would be very, very shocking if he did.
Yeah, I guess the reason why I'm sort of annoyed with it is, I love Braun Strowman, but the reason I was slightly annoyed as they kept pushing the whole Braun Strowman rampage is because aside from some stuff like the chocolate cake, which I will admit that was pretty funny, but and stuff like throwing Michael all around, but basically the fact that it had no consequence because it was there as a gag to build him up for what I know is, I have a strong suspicion Brock Lesnar's going to win because we still need him to look strong so that, as everyone knows, when Roman Reigns takes the championship from him, it will be a really big, how did Roman Reigns do that kind of thing.
Yeah, undeniably, Brock Lesnar wins, probably with a single F5 to try and sell the move as being more powerful, because he's been doing just one F5 recently, which is how a finishing move should be. But I suspect he will probably beat Kane. They've tried to make Kane look a bit more legitimate for this fight by having him sit up from the F5, but when he did do that, he took ages to sit up. I mean, when Brock Lesnar parodied that from taking a chokeslam from Kane, he sit up almost instantly, which is what you should have done to make it look more legitimate. Braun Strowman, you make him look like a machine. It's a triple threat. Unless there's some contract shenanigans going on with Brock Lesnar, he's going to win. And continue to hold the title until WrestleMania, where Roman Reigns will beat him and take the title. That's probably where we will not see any more Brock Lesnar from that point, because as a part-time performer who makes a lot of money from his appearances, they can't really, afford to do that forever.
Yeah.
Plus, I do know that he has other aspirations outside of WWE.
Yeah, I mean, remind me, how long is it until WrestleMania after the Rumble? Is it like a couple of months or?
It is a couple of months, a couple of pay-per-views. We've got to go through Fastlane is one of them, but not Great Balls of Fire.
Oh, thank God.
That's off the card now. They've got rid of it.
Oh,
but Fastlane will be along the way as well.
That's fair enough. Oh, yeah, of course, the Fastlane to WrestleMania. But yeah, Brock Lesnar will win this and then go away, and then Braun Strowman will rampage around for a while to get back the heat he'd already lost from this match.
Yeah, I'm not sure where Braun Strowman goes after this. It would be really interesting to see what they do after he takes another loss. Maybe he'll go after that Intercontinental title. That would be interesting. But yeah. I think The Miz has eyes on that.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, thankfully, Braun Strowman's the type of character who, I believe you said it in past episodes, can basically just turn up, smash someone, and then walk away and do whatever he wants. I think he can get by on that. I mean, I would rather not have him go up against Roman Reigns again, because we've seen so many variations of that by now, it's not even funny anymore.
I mean, this is a very good match to keep Braun Strowman and Kane out of the Royal Rumble, which also allowed Roman Reigns to catch up to Kane's record of eliminations, which they're probably trying to do, because he already had him beat the number of eliminations in a single Rumble, where he eliminated almost the entire Rumble, which is very annoying. Without Roman Reigns having an Intercontinental title match against The Miz, which I thought would have been happening, but doesn't seem to be, that frees up Roman Reigns to be in the Rumble, where he'll probably eliminate a lot of people.
Indeed.
So that's going to lead us on to the next match, which is the 2018 Men's Royal Rumble match for a World Championship match at WrestleMania 34.
Yeah.
I think Roman Reigns is going to win.
That could be the case. I mean, I know several people wanted to be Shinsuke Nakamura on the idea that it could be Nakamura versus Styles at WrestleMania. A couple of weeks ago, I would have said it's a cute idea, but I don't think WWE wants to acknowledge the New Japan Pro Wrestling rivalries. That said, they reintroduced the Balor Club in order to try and capitalize on the Bullet Club, which is a completely different team, honestly.
Yes, on the surface it looks like a bigger push for Finn Balor, but it really isn't, because you think about where he started when he came back into the WWE proper, where he had the Universal title. He really is just flailing around. I mean, now he's with two guys that were in a pumpkin patch match not too long ago. Anderson and Gallows have been playing joke characters forever. They are really winding down in the WWE run.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate. Balor's with them now to give himself some, I guess, hired goons, but that really does relegate him to the tag division. So you've got to wonder what they're going to be doing with him, or if they're going to lead on to a greater Bullet Club reunion, perhaps in the Royal Rumble, because there's a lot of members in that Rumble. The card is really stacked.
Yeah, I mean, it would be nice for him to maybe focus on this whole Balor Club thing and get that enhanced, because there are some rumors that Vince doesn't see what's so great about Finn Balor, but really, it wasn't really his fault. I mean, they had him going up against Bray Wyatt and then had to abort it because of the whole meningitis thing, and then he was used to squash Kane because they couldn't find anyone else at the time.
Yeah, I mean, if you ask me, Finn Balor's money, because the amount of toys you can send out with different face paint on is just endless. Not to mention, if he ever decides to wear white instead of black, you've got a different variation of his regular clothes. Although I do see one of the big names definitely winning the Rumble, especially with Roman Reigns being surprisingly free on the match card up until the main event. It's unfortunate, but I think Roman Reigns is probably going to take it. The other option, like you said, is to have a SmackDown superstar win, but then it gets to that point where you have the winner of the Royal Rumble being a SmackDown superstar. And I don't mean it's against SmackDown, but when you come to WrestleMania and you've got like 4 main events or whatever, they want to say like, oh, we've got so many main events. You've only ever got 1 main event, and it's normally Raw title.
Yeah.
So if the SmackDown superstar wins, they're going after the lesser title, and it's going to be down the card in the WrestleMania, so it's almost not worthwhile.
Yeah, I mean, the only reason why I suspect it might be more of a SmackDown thing is because, well, I don't think Roman Reigns specifically needs the Rumble. They will find a way to get it so that he faces Brock Lesnar somehow.
That is true. He could definitely work his way up there at some other points. Someone like Shinsuke does need the Rumble, because they do need that exposure. It made superstars like Stone Cold back in the day, so it would be very good for someone like Shinsuke.
Yeah, because Shinsuke is another person who is really good, but has been floundering around a bit, and for the past few weeks has been made to be best buds with Randy Orton.
Yeah, despite the fact they don't speak the same language, but that's the thing that happened.
And haven't really formed any other friendship besides, well, you know, Abe McMahon because money.
Hey, if Roderick Strong can be best friends with the Authors of Pain, then it's all fine. They wore matching outfits on the War Games, and it looked so cute because he looked like an action man.
But yeah, I think I personally would want it to be someone like Nakamura, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was Roman Reigns. Although that would lead to the question of what the hell happens to the Intercontinental title if he does win.
Yeah, I mean, he can easily drop the Intercontinental title at some point. I don't think they're at the stage now where they will have someone walking around with more than one title. Certainly in TNA, that used to be a big thing where, you know, someone would come in. It happened for Kurt Angle. They would just grab all the titles at once and say, I'm the best ever! Look at me with all the titles! I make your show look terrible! I don't think it's going to happen now. I think when they run to their Grand Slam champions, they will give them the titles incrementally. With that said, I think the Royal Rumble will be really good as long as we don't get like Roman Reigns in at number 2 and then he knocks everybody out along the way. There should be some cool surprises up. Maybe the Dudleys will show up again because they're going to be at the Raw 25th anniversary. I would really like to see Bubba Ray do his Bully Ray character now that we have woken Matt Hardy proper in the WWE.
Yeah, that would be good.
That would be a really neat exchange. You've got a lot of people that I think will be in the Rumble that won't really do anything, like Aiden English and Mojo Rawley. But other than that, it looks like it's going to be a real stacked card with the likes of John Cena. Mojo I don't think will be in the Rumble anymore because he's injured, but you've got Finn Balor, you've got Shinsuke Nakamura, you've got AJ Styles, you've got Roman Reigns, you've got Jinder Mahal, you've got Randy Orton, you've got Rusev. Lots of big names in there. Some surprise entries coming up. So it really could be anyone's Rumble, except it's probably going to be John Cena or Roman Reigns.
Yeah, unfortunately. But still, it would be good. If John Cena won, it would then be the question of who does he go after, because he's a free agent.
Yeah, well, free agent just means he can have a really neat schedule where he wrestles wherever and whenever he feels like it.
Yeah, I know the actual. I know the actual reason. It's just for storyline purposes. Who does he want to go after?
He could go after either title, but I don't see why he wouldn't go after the Raw title. Unless he has some crazy fear of Brock Lesnar.
Maybe.
Because Brock Lesnar did destroy him previously.
That is true.
As long as CM Punk doesn't win, I'm fine with it.
Oh god, that would just be the ultimate devastation.
Or he comes in at number 1 and gets eliminated at number 2, and the crowd chants CM Punk the entire match.
Or he comes in at number 29, and at number 30, it's a cute little puppy.
Who gets Superman punched. But in all seriousness, I would hope that the crowd chants are a little less manic. There has been said that there could be a Daniel Bryan-esque kind of riot situation with Rusev, with the Rusev Day chants, because he is ridiculously over right now. So if he does like fairly badly in the Royal Rumble, you could have the crowd chanting Rusev Day the whole match.
Yeah, that probably will happen, unfortunately.
There's been a lot of superstars. I talked about Damien Sandow that weren't given their props inside of WWE, and Rusev is one of them at this point. But we shall see. I've got my prediction, which is probably Roman Reigns. You never know. Shinsuke Nakamura, as you predicted, could be the winner. We shall find out when we are definitely wrong when we come back to look at this later on another episode of Flip the Mic.
Oh, dude, yes. But yeah, those are all our predictions, so all we can do is wait in a week's time when all the carnage unfolds.
I can't wait to watch it.
Yeah, I always love Royal Rumble style matches. Hell, I even got introduced to wrestling through the Aztec Warfare, the Lucha Underground equivalent. So
nice, yeah, that's true.
Always freaking love matches like that. But yeah, we'll be back after all the dust has settled. Until then, I've been the Jonin Monkey.
And I've been MVL, baby! And we'll see you next time on the Flip the Mic podcast.
See you around.